Dan Miller is the Industry and Solutions Manager for Manufacturing, Energy, and Utilities at AT&T. He is an extremely knowledgeable and experienced individual on mobility for industrial companies. Dan, tell us a little bit about what you do at AT&T and the solutions that you provide for industrial companies.
Well, I think it's a foregone conclusion that AT&T is one of the world's largest providers of network and voice services. We probably have the lion's share of the domestically headquartered business just from an IP traffic and a voice wireline type of solution. Additionally, we provide very deep industry expertise through teams of people we've cultivated out of the industry to actually sell our solutions back into from a relevance standpoint. So we think about things like machine to machine, we think about things like cloud services, we think about things like mobile applications, and how they fit into the industrial companies from a process improvement, collaboration improvement, and even communication improvement standpoint.
Wow. Now, those are very impactful megatrends. Could you tell us a little bit more about the megatrends that you see affecting industrial companies?
Absolutely. I think all companies are really experiencing some of the same megatrends. So we see them coming from three primary directions. One is clearly we have this proliferation of smarter and more capable devices with sharper, crisper screens that allow for more really immersiveness into these applications that people are now using. And it's really coming from the consumer side now into the enterprise. And we all hear these terms, consumerization of IT and bring your own device. So it's clearly a huge impact on enterprises to try to understand how to deal with them. Another one is the networks are getting faster and more ubiquitous, whether it's the wired network and the ultra-high bandwidth that you can acquire, or even the ultra availability. We see many enterprises, as opposed to just looking at how they commoditize the price of these networks, they're actually looking to say, how can I increase my bandwidth so I can let people do more and collaborate more on these networks? The last one is obviously the cloud. Right? Cloud is a very ubiquitous term. It means a lot of different things to a lot of different people, but what it's letting people do is actually scale up applications and solutions without worrying about what used to be a big infrastructure play just a few years ago. So it allows companies to think about new ways of doing things without the limitations of the hardware, the client-server model that used to be prevalent. And there's this huge mobility to cloud relationship, because all the applications that we use on mobility have to come from somewhere. And if you think about the millions and millions of users, the sheer scale of it requires something like a very nebulous cloud to be able to provide those services.
So I'm visualizing these huge changes going on, hitting companies, industrial companies at different angles and from different directions. It could be thought of as being a little chaotic. Can you talk a little bit about how AT&T helps companies make sense of all these chaotic trends and intersections?
Absolutely. So I think we've done a really good job establishing deep relationships with IT organizations and companies. And what we're starting to see and have been seeing over the last couple of years is companies asking us to get deeper into their business, learn their business, understand what their long-term goals are, and help them actually create roadmaps to get to those long-term goals with the solutions that are really changing so fast that they can't get their arms around them. So AT&T has spun up organizations like my own and sister organizations in machine-to-machine, cloud services, and as-a-service platforms to be able to come into these customer engagements and really make sense of how technology is relevant to their business. Once we understand what the value proposition is, many of those companies still don't have the resources to deploy solutions like that because it's so far beyond their areas of expertise. Or a lot of manufacturers, let's face facts, they're trying to focus on things they're really good at. IT is not typically something they're very good at. So we come in and we bring a holistic approach to it. We provide not only the intelligence and expertise to help them understand where to provide the solution, but also the tools and capabilities and teams to actually deploy and support these solutions after the fact. So you think about things like network services. Managed network services, AT&T is very, very strong in that area and has been for a long time. And then mobility is another play that it's just a foreign entity to a lot of companies. They see it, they see people using it, they want to take advantage of it, but they have no idea where to start, and we help them.
Well, let me hone in on mobility a little bit, because that's matured somewhat, and as a technology matures, it finds itself deeper and deeper into specific applications. Can you talk a little bit, segment maybe those applications a little bit, and talk about how AT&T helps out?
Yeah, first we kind of look at, are you protecting your borders? Because the mobile environment tends to be this area that's considered it's kind of the wild, wild west. People are bringing their devices. How do you make sure that if you're going to put corporate applications and solutions in these devices, how do you make sure that's not going to leak out to your competition or get left in a cab somewhere and now somebody has access to all your contacts and your notes? So we have a mobile device management practice and a security practice that comes in and says, let's make sure that as you look at these advanced solutions that you're protecting the information that you're using within them. Then we look at mobile device or mobile application platforms and understand, is there a benefit, a business value, to actually deploy solutions on these Android devices, the iOS devices, these Apple iPads, what have you, as you deploy them in the marketplace to your salespeople, your service people, and even your plant people. How do you develop apps that are rapid to development, fairly inexpensive to deploy, easy to integrate to your back-end systems? Because let's face facts, we want to leverage the investments in your IT systems, in your applications, and then scalable so that as the devices change in the future and as you add more back-end systems or go to the cloud, that you can just point the integration path to these other areas and then generate new mobile applications on these new devices without recreating the wheel. And then obviously machine-to-machine is huge for us. If you have a device that can connect to the network, should you? So we also have a very deep knowledge and expertise and experience around utilizing best practices to understand what the value proposition is for telemetry, was what it used to be called. It's now called machine-to-machine. And then giving companies not only the expertise but tools to provision services, manage services, and then through partnerships, actually build intelligence into those devices through machine-to-machine middleware platforms. And some of them are partners of ARC, and it's really a holistic lifecycle approach to that. The last piece is, again, this is not something that a lot of companies are comfortable with. So providing mobility solution services to actually, which is our professional services group, spin these deployment services up to manage the deployment, the professional services, and the lifecycle management to allow companies to literally hand AT&T a scope of work, and then we build the solution and support it for them.
You know, we've talked about several technologies here and taking that to solutions, things like mobility, cloud, et cetera, M2M. Can you talk a little bit about the value proposition for manufacturers and industrial concerns, where the value comes from with using these technologies?
To put it in one word, I think it's simplification. One is, and there's a bunch of different kind of pieces inside that. One is, obviously, we're at the table in a lot of these solution development projects. So we've gained a lot of experience over the last even 10 years as remote monitoring and machine-to-machine and applications mobility really became mainstream, because it wasn't until a couple, 3 years ago that it started to hit mainstream. So we've got the experience. We bring that expertise as a value-added service to our customers in many respects. So leveraging our expertise helps you get kind of through that area of doubt. And then the other is simplification from a procurement standpoint. Because in the old world, you had to probably talk to a device manufacturer, and you had to talk to the carrier, AT&T hopefully, and then you had to talk to maybe a professional service shop to do the integration and provide the service. And then there might have been a middleware and application layer that you had to talk to. So you might have 4 or 5 different vendors providing an end-to-end solution. We've proactively gone out and brought different solution providers underneath AT&T, and then we've actually acquired a professional services organization to let you come to AT&T and from soup to nuts deploy the entire solution from ideation all the way to lifecycle support without talking to so many different project managers that you don't know who owns what project at what point, which actually stifled a lot of these projects getting off the ground, right? So now it's not that difficult anymore. Hand us the scope of work, we'll take care of it soup to nuts.
Wow. Fascinating information. Thank you very much for talking with us today.
You're welcome, Ralph.
That is Dan Miller of AT&T talking with us about mobility solutions for industrial concerns. Thank you for listening.